welcome back. This time it's going to be a slightly different kind of video that I'm going to be doing. And that's not only because I'm playing World of Warcraft, obviously, which is what you see on the screen. There's no particular reason for that. Well, the video is about gaming, and World of Warcraft was like something I used to enjoy a lot. I'm playing it a little bit in between these days, not really, playing it serious or anything. And just wanted to have something on the screen while I talk, so maybe it's a bit more, I don't know, interesting to listen to or whatever, or more interesting than a black screen or me, just talking. So before I start, I would like to give a little trigger warning. If talk about depression or any kind of other mental health issues make you feel uncomfortable, or you've been struggling yourself with that, something like that, and you don't want to hear someone else talk about it because it brings back bad memories or anything, then I would be totally fine with you looking at some other video, either by me or by someone else. That's totally fine. So just make sure that it's a topic that you're interested in, and I would just like to share a few things that helped me when I was struggling with it. I still am, because depression is not something like the flu where you go through it and then it's gone or anything. It is something that you have to learn to live with, and I did. And even though the title of this is like how gaming helped me cope with depression, I'm not saying that it's like the perfect countermeasure to depression, or that gaming alone will heal depression or anything. It can help tremendously. It can also, depending on your personality, can be the wrong choice to make if you're struggling with mental health issues. In that case, it may be a bad idea to play a lot of games or certain kinds of games, I don't know. So hopefully you have someone you can talk to, a professional who can give you a little advice on that. I did actually, because I'm gonna go into that in a little while. But I had a wonderful therapist who helped me through the worst of times, and also helped me find methods of dealing with the depression I was struggling with. And I actually talked to him about gaming, and told him how much I enjoy it and what it does for me, and shared some of my feelings on it, and explained what it does for me. And he didn't say, wow, it's the best thing ever, but he said, if it makes you feel good, if it helps you, by all means, do it. And it did help, and I would like to get into that a little more. And I'm feeling slightly depressed by seeing how much I'm struggling with these quest mobs right now, so sorry for the crappy gameplay. I would like to focus mainly on talking to you and telling you a little bit about the topic today. So, why am I doing this? About 7 years ago, I figured out that I had a problem with depression. It started off pretty, unsuspiciously. There was just this, I had a lot of work to do, worked really hard, had like 2 different jobs, mostly working as a professional musician, and then, being a freelancer. And so, it was a demanding job, like time-wise and effort-wise, and, lots of things to worry about, of course. But, I'm not saying that that's unusual. I know a lot of people are struggling with that, especially these days. So there was this point where I suddenly realized that something was happening to me, because there was like this time around the summer of 2016 where I suddenly was starting to feel like almost catatonic. I was just, I remember this evening where I got home and I sat on a chair, and I just stared. I just sat there and stared, in front of me, and I didn't do anything else. I mean, I think the TV was on, I don't quite remember, but if it was on, I definitely didn't pay much attention, because I was just, I don't know, I was in this, trapped in this black cloud, and I didn't have these really dark thoughts or anything. I felt, I don't know, just a little helpless and confused. And I was sitting there and I wasn't able to do anything. I couldn't just get up and do anything that was fun or anything. I was just sitting there. And eventually I realized that this was happening more and more often. And there were other symptoms, like everything suddenly became more difficult, like functioning at work. And, staying focused. And I started to have these really negative thoughts. And it's kind of like a downward spiral, almost, because when you're really preoccupied in your mind and stuff is going on, and you have a lot of negative thoughts or worries and stuff like that, it makes it harder to focus. And when it's harder to focus, you probably have a harder time doing your job, performing, functioning, and that in turn will make you feel even more negative thoughts, because you start to doubt yourself, or you feel like you're underperforming, or I don't know, you're feeling helpless. All these kind of thoughts come up there. So it's really like a downward spiral, and that's what I was going through. And I eventually just realized that I need help, and I knew this. I could tell, it wasn't like something like, yeah, well, I'll just muscle through this and it will get better. I knew something was wrong, and I had a suspicion what it was. But I also knew, if it's what I'm suspecting what it is, I'm gonna need help. I don't know what to do, how to cope with this. Because, the stuff that many people think helps with depression, where, people think, well, you just gotta get a grip, man up, whatever, get yourself together or anything, that really doesn't work. It even makes it worse if you try to deal with that way. So, I was fortunate enough to find some professional help really quickly. It's really hard these days, especially now after Corona, to find a therapist and get like an appointment in many countries around the world, I think. And at first I called up like 2 or 3 or 4 therapists, and they all said, well, we're sorry, next appointment is available in like 4 months or anything. So that wasn't really helpful. And then there was this psychiatrist's office which had like an open consulting hours, so you could go there without an appointment and without being like a client. That's what my therapist called his patients. You could just go there and talk to someone for a little while, and that's what I did. I just went there and I sat down with this guy, and I tried to explain to him how I felt, what I was feeling, what I was thinking, how things had changed for me. And he told me a few things to try out, and said, you seem to be really struggling with something. Here are a few things that you can do. And those things helped a little bit already, and it felt good to really talk to someone. And eventually, I had a chance to go and do therapy sessions with that very therapist. I was really grateful for that, because I started to feel really hopeless about finding a therapist to go to for treatments anytime soon. So I did, and I consider myself blessed that I found that, and I started working with him. And once again, I'm not saying that gaming was like my cure or anything. It certainly, if you are struggling with mental health problems, you should and you have to talk to a professional, and get professional assistance, and don't try to just muscle through it and treat it with something else. Is my recommendation. Even if it's just once, if you just talk to someone once and get like a diagnosis or something, please do so if you feel like there's something wrong. I once I had gotten that diagnosis about a depression, I started to work with his therapist, and I started to analyze what was going on with me. And there were a lot of things that helped me, things that he taught me, and I don't want to go into detail with that. That would be, I guess that would take a long time to talk about all that. But I was trying different things, and trying to experiment and see what was fun. I said before that I was working as a professional musician, and for the first time in my life, music really wasn't the safe place that it was before, because my depressions were related kind of to my job. So I had to find something else, and I've always been into gaming. Even says so in my YouTube biography about like how I started in sometime in the 80s, and it's always been a part of my life. Sometimes more, sometimes less. There were long periods where I really didn't play a lot, and then there were periods where I played a lot. Like for example, World of Warcraft. I used to be raiding and all that stuff back in vanilla or all the way up to Cataclysm. But again, that's beside the point. I just realized that gaming helped me to soothe my mind, to center myself sometimes, because depressions, they work different for different people. It's not always the same symptoms and the same things you experience. For some it may be more aggressive, I guess, or the symptoms may feel a little different, or the way those depressions make you feel. And for me it was that sometimes like my head was just overfilled with all these negative thoughts, and it was like that spiral that I described before, like feeding itself and getting worse. And I had so much time to think, and that was a bad thing. And I had all these thoughts going on, and sometimes it felt like my head was overheating because there were so many thoughts, especially negative thoughts going on. And at the same time I tried to explain to my therapist, where he said it's like a record, but it's kind of like off balance, off center, where it doesn't really run right, or like a machine which is like slightly off kilter and it's going wrong, and there's this grinding going on. And it felt totally weird. So what I realized is that when I was gaming, it felt like my head was kind of soothed, was kind of relaxing, felt like I was able to find a little peace, a little rest in my head. And it was almost like it took my mind off other things, or it like slowed down all that thinking going on. And sometimes it didn't. Sometimes even gaming didn't help, even playing like stuff that would really be challenging and distracting me. But a lot of times, it just helped so much to play a game and totally dive into that game and immerse myself, and it gave me peace. It really helped to slow down that carousel of bad thoughts in my head. And I remember, for example, back then I was playing a lot of Elite Dangerous. I don't know if you've played that game. It's a space flight sim. I actually played that with like a joystick and everything, and had the whole setup, and it was really fun and really immersive to sit there and fly around. And sometimes it was really, I didn't do a lot of combat or anything. I did trading, where it was just hyper jumping around, warping around, and transporting goods and selling them for a profit and stuff. And I guess if you look at it, for some people that kind of gameplay would be rather boring or uneventful, but for me it was just such a great way to distract myself. And I'm sure other things work as well. Sometimes books did the same for me. Well, and I don't know, gaming and playing different kinds of games seem to work even better than other stuff. And I also, I don't know, I got some some encouragement from gaming. It made me feel good sometimes, which is risky, because, you know, imagine you're really feeling down, your depression is kicking in, you feel like a piece of, you know, whatever, POS, and then you play a really challenging game and you fail. Well, of course, that may be a bad idea, or it may make you feel even worse. In my case, and this is true for back then, when I was really dealing with the worst part of the depression before I actually learned to live with it a bit better. Back then and during the Corona phase, when, you know, I was kind of stuck in my home office and, you know, wouldn't be able to be around a lot of people and stuff. What helped me especially was playing the Dark Souls games. You know, Dark Souls, Bloodborne, all these kinds of games. And, you know, when Corona was around, when Corona really got bad, you know, and everyone started isolating, there were even more games out already. I spent a lot of time playing Dark Souls 3 and Sekiro and stuff, and I enjoyed all that so much. And even though it was challenging, it never made me feel like I'm even more of a loser, because it's like the 50th time that I'm dying to Medir or anything. It actually was just something that I had to focus so hard and like do a little research on how to fight the bosses in the most optimal way, or practicing a boss and like trying again and again and failing and doing it again. You know, it was just such a great way to keep my mind busy and to, you know, distract myself and immerse myself, and I did that all the way. Not only by playing the game, but by like thinking about the game and immersing myself in that game world of the Dark Souls games. You know, reading about the lore, thinking about the lore, and yes, there's lore. There's actually a lot of lore, but it's not like telegraphed to you or anything. So there was so much going on with these games, and they helped me. They really did. And I remember that once again, I was talking to my therapist about this, and I explained to him, you know, how I was playing. I think it was Dark Souls 3 at that time, and I explained to him, you know, it's like he said, well, how was your week? And I said, well, I was struggling with this really tough boss, and I practiced him, and I did him, and killed him. And he was like, well, how did that feel? And I said, it felt awesome. And I said, is this a problem, you know, that I'm playing games? Is this like risky or anything, or is this some kind of escapism that I shouldn't use or whatever? And he said, you know what, stop worrying about this so much. If it makes you feel good, as long as it doesn't go overboard, or as long as it doesn't make you feel bad, then it's fine. And you know, that was really, I don't know, that was nice to hear. And I stopped worrying, and I realized that on top of the therapy, which was the most important part, you know, the stuff that my therapist taught me, the conversations we had, learning about, you know, depression, about myself, my way of thinking, about what maybe were the root causes of all the stuff that was going on with me. That was, of course, the most important part. And like, you know, how I would deal with it and how I would learn to deal with it, and encouraging myself to deal with it again and again. That was the most important part. But I am incredibly grateful that I had games around that time, because they were a huge factor of helping me through that. And once again, I'm not saying that games can solve any kind of mental health issues, or that games are the perfect therapy when you're suffering, you know, and you're dealing with depressions, because, I mean, there's no perfect solution. There's nothing that will completely cure it. And of course, not every strategy will work for everyone. In my case, it did. And I know a lot of people share that. I've read so many like statements, like open letters, or I don't know, essays by people who used to play games like Dark Souls, and how the games helped them and I would just like add my voice to it and say yes, those games and many other games help me too. I mean, whether it's EVE Online, Elite Dangerous, some different RPGs, all these games really helped me through this period. The most important things were, as I said, the therapy and my own, fighting, whatever, me learning how to deal with it. But games did help a lot, and I'm grateful to have had them around. And I think even WoW was a game that I was playing back then, and so I am grateful for it. And it's, I think, something that a lot of people don't seem to know about, that games can do that as well. Of course they have some other effects as well and stuff, and I had times when games really made me really angry, especially when it comes to games like Dark Souls, but in general, I have to say, they can help you to just escape from stuff, and that can be bad as well, because you don't want to run away from your worries all the time and, ignore them until they get really, really bad. That is, of course, something that, wouldn't be a good idea either. But looking back, they were just a wonderful, wonderful tool for me to just get away. And so I'm grateful for that. And if you are struggling with any kind of mental health issues, if you do deal with depression, I know it's really, really tough, and I guess there's nothing I could say to make you feel better. I just hope that, whatever it is you are dealing with, if you're dealing with anything, then, I hope you will feel better soon. And please try to talk to someone and get some assistance, get some help, because there are people around who are willing to help you, who can help you, and, I know you can make it through this. I mean, I have met you, but I know you can, because I did. So, I just wanted to share that. And that's another thing. Of course, gaming is a great way to spend your time, and gaming can be educational. It can be just very entertaining. It can be enlightening or distracting, or I don't know. It can be a great fist pump moment when you beat like tough bosses or anything. But I have to say, when I was really struggling with mental health, before I learned how to deal with depression, gaming really was there for me and was helpful. And so I hope that if you're not feeling well, that you can find something that helps you. Maybe it is gaming, maybe it's something else, but just make sure you do find some help. And thank you for listening to my story. Hope I didn't bore you too much. Once again, this is a very personal thing. I wasn't sure whether I should record this, but there's a lot of stuff on YouTube, and if you're not interested in that kind of stuff, then there's so much more you could check out. And also there are many other stories like this on YouTube and on other places. So thanks for listening, and I'd be happy if maybe just made you smile, or maybe if you're struggling with something similar, if this helps you, I'd be really, really happy to hear that. So thanks once again for listening, and next time I promise I'll be talking about games themselves again, and playing some games and talking about what's happening in those games. But I just felt an urge to do this right now. So thanks again, and have a great day.